Hi there, guys. This is Mrs. Walker, and this is my first attempt at doing a screencastify. What you should be looking at is the anticipation guide that I assigned to you on Google Classroom. And I just wanted to go over a few points on it here. So, the Lightning War was successful, also known as Blitzkrieg. And Hitler went in very fast and quickly, had everything super organized to attack into Poland. Everyone was super surprised because no one knew about the Hitler-Stalin pact that, that Hitler and Stalin were working together to divide that territory. Everyone had thought that the USSR would protect Poland, but that was not the case because of the Hitler-Stalin pact. Number 3 there, the phony war, it's false. It's not that they refused to fight. It's that Britain and France were mobilizing. This was their time period to get ready. Number 4 is true with Dunkirk. The British came in and rescued the Allied troops that were stranded on the beaches of Dunkirk when they were cornered there. Number 5, Charles de Gaulle, he was actually the leader of the French government that was fighting for liberation. Hitler did put a puppet government in place in France when the Germans controlled France. However, de Gaulle was the one that was fighting for their freedom, and he is the hero of France. Number 6, radar and the code-making machine, the Enigma. They were a major help for the British. They helped to disguise code that allowed the British to be able to fight against the Germans and to keep their military moves a secret. Number 7, Hitler eventually was able to invade and occupy Great Britain. That is false. The Battle of Britain is actually the first stopping of Hitler. And in the slides that come after this, if you'll review them, it shows you, just a real quick overview of the war in Europe. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Pacific as we go. I'm not going to do the whole thing today, but you're welcome to take notes on this so you have the background information. I may put something up for you to, send them to me, but in general, my explanation here is just to add to your understanding. So the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, did attempt to bomb England into submission, and that was not successful, as we just learned. The Royal Air Force fought bravely to defeat the Luftwaffe, and that was June through October of 1940. What you definitely need to know is that the Battle of Britain is the first stopping of Hitler. Lots of pictures. Now, England's prime minister, as we know at this time, was Winston Churchill, and there is a very famous speech that is attached here with the audio that you can listen to and read on your own. This is my claim to fame, as I have a Churchill quote on my refrigerator that says, "Never, never, never give up." And this is Winston Churchill's speech to the people of Great Britain with their regard to carrying on and not giving up even when being attacked by Hitler. So please do, listen to the speech when you have a chance there. Another very famous quote, this is their finest hour. Never has so much been done by so few for so many. And, and I may have that quote wrong here because I'm just flipping through the slides, but very, very well-known speaker and speech. The next one here, it shows you where the Battle of Britain is on the map here for the first stopping of Hitler. Now, I'm not going to test you much about the battle in Africa. What I mainly need you to know is that this is another place where the war expands to. And after the Battle of Britain, Hitler kind of changes his strategy and he attacks North Africa. When the US entered the war a little bit later than this, they also go to North Africa first before directly attacking Hitler in Europe. The ultimate prize that Hitler was after was the Soviet Union. And that is also one of his biggest undoings, is attacking the Soviet Union. You might remember that when we studied Napoleon, one of his biggest mistakes was attacking then Russia. And in World War I, one of the biggest mistakes of the Germans was attacking Russia at that point as well. The Suez Canal and access to the Middle East oil fields. This is what Italy was after in North Africa. This is why Axis powers were looking in North Africa. It was so they would have access to oil and therefore fuel, etc., for the war effort. But the Allies were victorious in holding Northern Africa and controlling that area. Hitler also invaded Yugoslavia and Greece, and those powers fell to the Axis powers. So Russians were caught by surprise, obviously, and they did die in large numbers, very similar to World War I. Also very similar to World War I is that Russia is a very long distance from German-controlled Europe. And so getting supplies and troops and such across such a large distance also proves deadly to Hitler's troops, much as it was deadly in World War I for the Germans and also with Napoleon. The US at this time here at home, we extended the Lend-Lease policy to the Soviet Union. The Lend-Lease policy was that it's okay, we'll give you weapons if you need them to defend the Allied, movement. We're not in the war, we're still staying neutral, but we'll lend you them or we'll lease you them. If you don't have the cash, it's okay, we're gonna make sure you have weapons. Two things that will stop a German attack, much like we've talked about before with attacking Russia: the winter weather or general winter, and also the bravery of the Russian soldier. Hitler does invade the Soviet Union. Its nickname is Operation Barbarossa. And the Soviet troops are unprepared. They're not well equipped or trained. The Russians also used the same scorchers policy as they did against Napoleon. There was the siege at Leningrad, and it gives you a description there about the inhabitants being forced to eat cattle and horse feed, as well as cats and dogs, and finally rats and crows, etc. Just trying to survive because they had burned up all the supplies with that scorched earth policy so that Hitler's troops would not have those resources to make through the winter. As a result, nearly 1 million people died in that winter of 1941 to 1942, but the city of Leningrad never fell to the Germans. Hitler won in Moscow, but his troops kind of forgot and they didn't end up being able to get there. And as I mentioned to you before, General Winter was also a factor of this, and that really is just another nickname for that winter weather. And again, remember, this had to do with the invasion of Napoleon and Germany invading Russia in World War I. It was the same situation. Stalingrad, a lot of hand-to-hand combat. This was the second stopping of the Germans was in Russia. So Hitler was stopped. So on this map here, you see the different red asterisks, and it shows you here first stopping at London, and then you have Leningrad, and then Stalingrad being the two stoppings of Hitler within the Soviet Union. The third stopping was in North Africa, as it mentions here, with General Montgomery at El Alamein. In October to November of 1942. All right, I think I'm going to stop it there and see how it goes with the upload before I go into the Battle of Pearl Harbor and that information. So hopefully this helps. I think it timed out.